Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, April 27th, 2026. So, this episode, we start at the Uptown, and Vanessa is there, and Tomas comes in. And as we remember, Tomas was previously speaking with the PI who stated that Vanessa was selling Lynette a penthouse. So he goes over to, question her. And in the midst of questioning her, Danny arrives. And Danny overhears part of his conversation about penthouse. And she's like, "Is Bill buying you a penthouse?" And she goes full Danny on him. And she goes full Danny. But full Danny actually sheds some light on the situation. And they're having a conversation. And he's talking about Lynette. And they figure out that he's talking about Lynette. And because Tomas can't say anything, but um Vanessa can. So they're talking about Lynette, and then Danny's looking Lynette up, and she's like, "Oh, I met her." And it comes out that Danny saw them hanging out together prior to Haley being mugged. So he getting little context clues about what's going on. And then in the meantime, Danny is starting to feel like something very nefarious is going on where Haley is concerned. So she tells him, "Whatever you find out, you need to tell me." And Tomas is like, absolutely not." And she was like, "No, you need to tell me because Haley ain't slick and she ruined my family. And yeah, I need to know what's coming." Well, I mean, she is trying to kill Bill, so yeah. Meanwhile, Nicole and Kyle are at the country club and they're having lunch and they're talking. And it comes out that he hasn't met Martin. Did Nicole know he met Kat? But anyway, and she was like, and he's like, "Well, when my boys come in town again, I would like for them to meet you." And Nicole's like taken aback, like, "What?" And she was like, "You told your kids about me." And it's a lot for Nicole because she is trying to keep everything casual and chill, but he kind of pressing at the same way. He's doing it, kind of trying to do it subtly, but he pressing. And then we also have her thinking about, she tells him that when she was at her daughter's birthday party, I kind of hit her how different her life is right now than it was, even just a year ago. And so Nicole is all in her feelings and all in her emotions because she's feeling everything, because it's also coming up on the anniversary where Leslie blew up her life and everything that she knew, it changed. So she's kind of being very introspective right now, which makes sense because it was a lot of change that took place in a short amount of time. And so it's a lot for her. And she's like, "Wait a minute." She's kind of reeling, which makes sense why her and Ted would kind of connect in a way later on this week, because Nicole is going through it. And damn it, if Ted might not be going through it as well, even though I don't care about him going through it because, sir, this your fault. But anyway, then we have Haley and Bill, and she brings him a St. Bart's breakfast, and she tells him where she got it, and it's in the sketchy part of town. And he's like startled by her saying where she got it, and he starts to choke. And she just sits there and keeps eating like it ain't nothing. And in comes Naomi, and she sees her dad choking, And she sees Haley sitting there. So she, helps Bill, hits him on the back or whatever. And she's asking Naomi, like, I mean, she's asking Haley, like, why weren't you helping him or whatever? Haley ends up leaving, and Bill is like, what is wrong? And you saw me choking to death or something. And she's like, don't play like that. Don't say that. And he tries to switch it to, oh, you're worried about Jacob and his training. And she was like, why do you keep trying to flip the script whenever I bring up your marriage? He was like, because I can see what happened. She said, so you can see what happened in my marriage, but you are blind as a bat when it comes to yours. And Naomi hit the nail on the head because the man is blind as a bat. He don't see what's going on with him and Haley at all, and it's something going on. The girl is literally trying to poison you, and we see that because when Naomi leaves, she comes back and she's talking to him again about trying to go back to St. Bart's. Why she's so adamant about going back to St. Bart's? We know that she wants him to die there so that there are no prying eyes around, i.e., his daughters and Danny. But Danny is on you. Meanwhile, Smitty is not being subtle at all. He's questioning Shanice, trying to get some more information about the plasma ring. But he's trying to be slick, but he's not slick, and he's asking questions. And Shanice, she talks a lot, but then she also is suspicious a lot. So she is a little bit suspicious about, the questions that he's asking and the information that he said he got before. Meanwhile, Ashley has Grayson still at her apartment, but Grayson has a fever now. She's like, "You need to go to the hospital." And he's like, "Absolutely not." So then she has decided that she is going to go to the hospital and steal the antibiotics that he needs because he has a fever. I don't know why Ashley would risk her job and or her license for someone that she barely knows. She doesn't know Grayson well enough to do any of what she's doing, and it makes no sense for her to be risking everything for him. And little does she know it's not even worth it because he's involved in criminal activities. You left Derek because he pretended to be paralyzed a little longer than he was. But this man is clearly in some dangerous situations, but that's okay with you. Okay, Ashley. And so Jacob calls Grayson, and Ashley looks at the phone and she's like, "Who is Rashad?" And he's like, "I can't tell you. I can't tell you." So she leaves to go to the hospital to get the meds. She runs into Shanice, and Shanice is like, "Oh, you're not working." She tells her that she switched shifts. But then later she's leaving and she tells Shanice, "Oh, I got my wires crossed. We're not switching shifts." But then when she's still in the medicine, she runs into the chief and she tells the chief that whole we cross wires thing. She's like, "Well, since you're here, we can use you. Go back to work." And then Grayson had to come to the hospital because they got to do a drop. Or if they're not there to do the drop, both him and Jacob could be dead. So he comes in to do the drop. They do the drop. And then Ashley runs into him and she's like, "Take this medicine and take my keys and go back to my apartment." And the chief is like, "Y'all need to get back to work." So Grayson and the chief get on the elevator and she's like, "Your little girlfriend better not know anything." So he's really just put Ashley in complete danger. But I can't even say I feel bad about Ashley being in danger because she's stupid and she's asking for it because she should just cut ties with him. But that's Beyond the Gates. We don't have Beyond the Gates tomorrow on Wednesday, so I'll see you guys again on Thursday. Have a good evening. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, April 30th, 2026. So we start this episode with Martin coming to the Grand's house, and he is coming there to talk about his election. Um, and they talk about how Gran has gone to her doctor's appointment by herself and how she didn't really want him to come. And she called Titus and went to the hospital by herself. And so they're talking about Martin's reelection, and he starts telling him, about Smitty not wanting the security detail, and also about Joey offering to hire his people to look after Smitty for him. And, he tells him that he turned him down or whatever. And then he tells him about how Joey brought up the um, thing with the racist up with Nicole when she had dinner with him and Vanessa. And so Vernon is thinking about all of this, and he tells Martin to let him handle Joey. Meanwhile, Madison and Anita are at the hospital and they are talking. And, Anita is basically thanking, Madison for looking out for Vernon, because he came to her after she got, like, I don't want to say clean bill of health, but once she got a positive report from her oncologist, he went to her to get himself checked out. And then they found out that he was having a vitamin D deficiency that was causing him to um have his cognitive issues, minor cognitive issues. And, they were talking about, how it's easy to assume the worst case scenario and not even get checked out when it could be a simpler answer, which in this case it was. So, they talk about that. Then we see Chief Leah. She is talking on the phone to whomever, and she's saying that she sent a verbal message of her own. So she thinks that they'll be okay, and that Grayson won't tell his little nurse girlfriend anything. But it's too late. Ashley is officially in danger because Grayson hasn't told her everything, but he told her enough to let her know that he is in trouble and that he's in something basically illegal. So there's that. Good job, Grayson. Then we have Smitty and Ted are at the country club in the locker room. Ted is finishing playing a pickup game of tennis. I don't know what Smitty is doing there, but then he starts trying to question Ted about, blood and plasma donations, and he's trying to get some questions answered. But I don't see what talking to Ted is going to do unless he thinks Ted is a part of the ring, because you can't come out and ask these people about what you really want to know, because what you really want to know is something on the hush hush, and it's dangerous for you to know. So whoever you're speaking with, they're not going to be able to talk about what you really want to know because no one is supposed to be knowing. So talking to Ted is crazy. And Ted's stupid self was a little bit sus of Smitty asking, the questions that he was asking. Meanwhile, Jessica and Samantha are, talking at the house. And while they're talking about Jessica getting into UCLA And Tyrell hears, and he comes in and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me that you got into UCLA? You know, like after I told you I didn't get in." She was like, "Well, my decision just came in because my decision was, one of the last decisions to come out." And, he was like, "Well, why didn't you tell me what's going to happen?" And they ask for Samantha to leave them alone so that they can talk. Well, she goes to go get Boba, and they're talking, and he's like, all the guys with Riz, they're gonna want you, and where's that gonna leave me? And she's like, "I don't want anybody but you." And then one thing led to another, and they end up upstairs in Tyrell's room. And them kids is bad, but I can't get too mad at them because they're teenagers, and teenagers are going to try it because they shouldn't be having sex, because they are too young to be having sex. We automatically want to get harsh. Why am I on a soapbox? We automatically want to get harsh about these kids doing that. But these are normal teenage urges that are fueled by hormones. They're not doing anything that isn't normal. It's just for the parents to try and regulate and control that. But, if you do something wrong, of course, yes, you do need to be punished. So he's up there with her, and they're trying to do one thing that leads to another thing. And Smitty comes in, and so then he comes down when Samantha comes back and's like, "Oh, I ran into um Jessica while she was coming out of Samantha's room." And Samantha's like, I don't try that. And so I wasn't trying to be slick with them. Please don't punish me." He was like, "Oh, you're not in trouble." But Smitty isn't even thinking about what's going on with those kids because he's so concerned with what is going on with his story. And he just got a text from Jacob stating that he lost contact with Ren. So it's not even like he even cares much about anything but this story. But Martin comes in and he's like, "Wait, what's going on here?" So they tell him, and Martin pretty much kind of brushes it off too. And Samantha's like, "Wait a minute. When it was me, it was like it was World War III, and I was the scum of the earth. Like, what is going on?" And so Jessica does her conflict resolution things and makes sure that each side is heard. And ultimately, it comes down to Samantha wasn't going to be satisfied until Tyrell was ultimately punished. And he was punished, but he wasn't punished a long time. He was punished until the cotillion, and he still has to do like all of the things he has to do, commitments that he has leading up to the cotillion, but he is on punishment until then. And he's upset, and he said he didn't want to be around either Samantha or Jessica because he is punished now. And how is that fair that his girlfriend got him punished? But it is fair. Meanwhile, Chelsea and Leslie are at the Orphe Jeans, and Chelsea starts, going in on her about what she tried to do to her wedding. And she's like, "Oh, I put it back. I gave it to you back." And she, it's like, "Look, my grandmother, you made things bad by coming and targeting my aunt who did nothing to you." She said, "Your aunt wrapped her hands around my throat." Yeah, she had just cause after you provoked her into doing so. And so then she goes to the hospital because she's trying to speak with Leah, and she rudely interrupts Anita's conversation with Shanice. And Anita had to set her straight, and then Ted overhears her setting her straight. Then he goes, because he has to make sure the poor delicate Leslie is okay. He takes her in his office and he's talking to her and making her feel better. And Shanice walks in and she sees it. And then he tells her, "I just want her. I feel like I need to," some kind of bull crap. And Shanice was like, "Well, when you get over that urge, then come find me." Because it's all bull. Like, Leslie does things to people, but when they say something back to her, then she wanna whatever. That was Beyond the Gates for today. We'll finish up this week tomorrow. Let's play. Let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, May 1st, 2026. So we start this episode at Martin's house with Kat and Martin, and they're just making a plan to come to to divide and conquer their parents. No, they're making a plan to, just check on their parents for today because they realize, as much as the day may be difficult for them, it's probably very difficult for their parents because a year ago today they were celebrating their anniversary, and this is when all the stuff hit the fan, and they found out about Ted's affair, and they found out about Eva. So, a lot has happened in the last year, and it's kind of where it would be their wedding anniversary. It's the anniversary of when their lives changed irrevocably. And so, they just want to check on their parents. So it's decided that Martin will check on Ted and Kat will check on Nicole. She'd been trying to text Nicole, but Nicole wasn't really responding. Nicole had a string of texts from everyone in her family and Vanessa. Um, just checking on her because everyone realizes what today is and what it means. And then we see Nicole. She is I think she was at the country club, and she is, looking at the text, and she's seeing, everyone checking on her. So then she goes to the hospital and she goes to see Ted and celebrate their not anniversary. And they're talking about, different things about Martin and his campaign and Joey, and, Nicole is worried about him. And, they're just talking, and they're talking about, they know what the significance of today is. Then they start talking about when they met, and, how he kind of blocked Carlton from getting to her, and it's all laughs and giggles, I guess. And they're chatting, and they end their conversation with a hug. And while they're hugging, Martin walks in and he finds them there, but Martin's face didn't look like calm or like cool to see his parents hugging. He looked concerned. Are you concerned, Marty? But yeah, that was a little cute little moment. And I could see, if I was Shanice, I could see that. I could understand that. But you taking up for Leslie, that's crazy. That will never make sense to me. Like, I would be done with Ted. But I think I said that yesterday, so I'm going to keep moving on because that wasn't a part of what happened today. Then we have, before Nicole gets there, we have Eva come into his office because she knows the significance of of the day. She should know the significance of the day since she played a major role in what happened a year ago today, and she wants to be the ear that he leans on. Um, if things are difficult for him. I just can't get over him excusing Eva for what she did because it wasn't all Leslie. And you can say Leslie manipulated her all you want. However, you are a grown adult. You have your own mind. You make your own inferences and learn things on your own. You had met Nicole. You met Ted. You learned them. You still went about doing what you did. You met that whole family and you still did what you did because that's what you wanted to do. I don't care what your mother said. I don't care. You did what you wanted to do. Be an adult and say it. And you're still covering up for your mother because you know your mother tried to kill Laura so that you could step into Laura's job so that you can enact your plan. So I don't have any sympathy for Eva, and I'm never going to have it. You can't make me. What you gonna do? You gonna jump me? Find me first. But anyway, then we have Bill and Tomas there at Orphe Jeans, and they're, working or whatever, and um, they're, chilling and talking or whatever. And Danny and Andre come in because Danny was like, I need some food and some caffeine. I'm not trying to eat no protein shake, Andre. So she is meeting Chelsea and Naomi there at Orphe Jean. So Andre and Danny get there first and they go over to, speak to Bill and Tomas. And she's like, oh, you found Lynette yet? And then Tomas is like, girl, you about to get me in trouble. Like, I just got out the doghouse with Bill and you about to send me back there. And anyway, so they finish they're talking, and Danny's like, oh, you didn't tell him that I seen Haley and Lynette together before Haley was attacked? Like, how you know they don't go way back? Bill keeps making excuses for Haley. If you have to keep making that many excuses, you should be wondering why. Some things should be ticking and clicking in your head. Why do I have to keep making, sorry, why do I have to keep making, um, why do I have to keep making excuses for you? But Bill likes to be stupid. So then, Chelsea and Naomi kind of talks Chelsea into going to lunch because she says her mom misses her, and she's trying to explain to Chelsea how Danny is feeling. And so they go meet them for breakfast and they're laughing and they're having a good time. And Bill, who is overly smitten with Danny, can't focus or concentrate on Danny because he is so enamored with her that Tomas was like, well, I'll work on this and I'll get back with you because you not paying attention. And so when Andre leaves, Bill goes over and Danny and them are sitting there, and Naomi was like, can I talk to you? And they go back to Bill's table because she wants to give Chelsea and um Danny their time. And then Bill just doing too much because you like my mom. You like my mom. I see you. I have eyes. And I seen when you guys were in love, so I know what it looks like. Don't try and play me. You can't play a player. Like, I already know all of this. Like, I can see you. I hate when people act like their kids, even if they're not adults, they act like their kids don't have eyes and they can't see and they can't pick up on tension and anything. Like, get it together, Bill Hamilton. Are you gonna be with your stupid wife that you keep taking up for? Because Danny has moved on. Let Danny be happy. And she's been doing good lately. And I'm happy because Danny be getting on my nerves sometimes. So I'm happy that she's doing good. Let her stay doing good. But anyway, so then we have at Uptown, Gran goes to see Joey and he's basically telling him to leave Martin alone and to let, if you want to get paid back for what you've done to us in the past, then come to me. Leave it. This ain't got nothing to do with Martin. And I appreciate Gran for doing that because he's going to be a man and step up and take care of his family because he knows that what Martin did was in protection of him. So he's not going to, allow him to have to pay for what he did to protect him. So he's like, come to me.